Well, a lot of you hanging on. We'll go right to the phone lines. First up is Ray. He's listening in O'Fallon, Illinois. Hi, Ray.
Hi, Hank. I wanted to say thank you for your program, because there was a time in my life when I was going through cancer treatment, and you were one of the first people I wanted to call and thank you for all the things that you had taught me that contributed to my faith. As a father of 7 kids in a blended family, and listening to your comments earlier, when my wife and I, when we were having 2 of our children, the doctors offered to, check to see what the baby's health would be like, and we said, what difference does it make? It's a child of God, and we're going to take that child.
Wow.
So I wanted to just say thank you for all that you've taught me. My church is having a debate tomorrow, or a discussion, as they call it, on theistic evolution, and I wanted to get your input on the topic.
Well, I actually wrote about this in a book called The Creation Answer Book, and I make 3 points in that book. The first point being that the biblical account of creation specifically states, and I think this is of paramount importance, that God created living creatures according to their own kinds. And that's confirmed by science. The DNA for a fetus is not the DNA for a frog, and the DNA for a frog is not the DNA for a fetus. Each is uniquely programmed for reproduction after its own kind. And thus, while Scripture and science allow for what's called microevolution, in other words, transitions within the kinds, they don't allow for macroevolution. In other words, one kind evolving into another kind. The second point I make is that evolution is the cruelest, it is the most inefficient system of creation one could possibly conjure up. And the person that I'm fond of quoting is Jacques Monod. He's a Nobel Prize-winning evolutionist who said that the struggle for life, the elimination of the weakest, is a horrible process against which our whole modern ethic revolts. And then went on to say that he was surprised that a Christian would defend the idea that this is more or less the process which God set up in order to have evolution. My third point is that theistic evolution is a contradiction in terms. I like the analogy of a flaming snowflake. God can no more direct an undirected process than he can create a squared circle, and yet that is precisely what theistic evolution presupposes. And I would say, Ray, that in an age of scientific enlightenment where evolutionism is fighting for its very existence, we ought not to prop it up with theories like theistic evolution.
Thank you very much, because when you're even though I'm well-read and everything, it's hard to come up with, points to protect my children. I was concerned about my children hearing things that they don't understand. They don't have the ability to debate the topic as an adult does. And our young people are being exposed to a lot of different controversial topics. I really appreciate your input on this topic. And again, I thank you for your input into my spiritual life. It's been a real plus, and I've benefited from it, and I just wanted the opportunity to tell you that as well.
Thank you, Ray. God bless you.
Thank you.
And the point that Ray is bringing up with respect to children is the very reason I wrote the Creation Answer book. Having 12 children of my own, I know full well that if my children were not armed with answers to the questions that the culture is posing or positing, that they would be simply, designed for the slaughter, which is happening. I'm talking about slaughter not in a physical sense here, but in a metaphysical sense, where their minds are simply robbed of real thinking. I've often said that if you take all of the evidence on one side of a ledger and pound it into a person's mind and then repress all of the evidence on the other side of the ledger, that by definition is not education. It is more akin to brainwashing. Again, I wrote the book, The Creation Answer Book, to answer the questions that so many people are asking, and particularly appropriate today, because if in fact the first few chapters of Genesis are in error, well, who's going to believe the rest of the Bible? So we have to have answers, particularly in a post-truth culture.